A frantic mother holds a 2.5-page ransom note, waiting for a telephone ring that will never come, completely unaware that the tragic truth is already hiding right beneath her feet. It is December 26, 1996, in the upscale, snow-draped city of Boulder, Colorado. The holiday season is supposed to be a time of warmth, but inside the sprawling multi-level home in the 700 block of 15th Street, a living nightmare is unfolding. The police are crowded in the kitchen. The family is paralyzed by fear. The clock ticks past 10 a.m., the precise deadline set by a mysterious group claiming to hold the family's youngest daughter. But the phone remains agonizingly silent. No demands are made. No instructions are given. Hours later, a desperate search through the dark, labyrinthine corners of the basement reveals a sight that changes everything, transforming a frantic kidnapping rescue into the most scrutinized, controversial, unsolved homicide investigation in American history. Before the media circus, before the endless headlines, and before the fractured theories divided a nation, there was simply a family. John Ramsey was a highly successful businessman, a wealthy executive who had recently been named Entrepreneur of the Year by a local business journal. His wife, Patsy Ramsey, was a former Miss West Virginia, known for her charismatic personality, her dedication to her family, and her deep involvement in the community. Together, they had 2 children, 9-year-old Burke and 6-year-old JonBenét. JonBenét was a child who commanded attention. With her bright smile and boundless energy, she was deeply involved in the world of child beauty pageants. She won titles like Little Miss Colorado and National Tiny Miss Beauty, sparkling under the stage lights in elaborate costumes and perfectly styled hair. To the outside world, the Ramseys epitomized the American dream, wealthy, beautiful, and profoundly blessed. The Christmas of 1996 was filled with the usual joy of an affluent household. The families spent Christmas night visiting close friends for a festive dinner. Returning home late, John carried a sleeping JonBenét to her bed, while Patsy tucked in young Burke. The house grew dark, nestled quietly against the freezing Colorado night. It was a completely normal holiday routine, but hidden beneath the surface of this picture-perfect life were details that would soon be dissected by millions. Among those details was a recent corporate milestone. John Ramsey had just received a substantial annual Christmas bonus. It was a specific financial figure, known to only a select few, that would soon reappear in the most terrifying context imaginable. The peace of the morning shatters precisely at 5:52 a.m. Patsy Ramsey makes a frantic call to 911. Her voice rises in pitch, trembling with panic as she tells the dispatcher that her 6-year-old daughter is gone. She explains that she woke up early to prepare for a family trip to Michigan, walked down the back staircase toward the kitchen, and discovered a lengthy handwritten note resting on one of the steps. The note is not a standard, hurried scrawl. It is a stunningly long 2.5-page letter, written with a black felt-end pen on a legal pad found inside the Ramsey home. The text reads like a Hollywood script. "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do respect your bussiness, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her, see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. The writers demand an incredibly specific sum, $118,000. For John Ramsey, that number instantly hits home. It is the exact amount of his recent corporate bonus. The note warns that any deviation from their rules will result in the immediate execution of JonBenét. It explicitly states that the family will receive a phone call between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. to arrange the delivery of the money. First responders arrive at the home within minutes, entering an environment filled with high anxiety. Officers immediately note the unusual length of the ransom note and the fact that it was written using materials from the house itself. As the morning progresses, friends and family members arrive to support the Ramseys, walking through the home, pouring coffee, and attempting to offer comfort. By 10:30 a.m., the deadline passes without a single sound from the telephone. The tension inside the house becomes suffocating. Recognizing the escalating distress, Boulder Police Detective Linda Arndt takes a pivotal step just after 1 p.m. She instructs John Ramsey and a close family friend, Fleet White, to conduct a thorough search of the house from top to bottom, looking for anything that seems out of place or any potential point of entry the kidnappers might have used. John Ramsey and Fleet White head directly down into the basement. The basement is a complex, cluttered space divided into several distinct rooms and storage areas. John leads the way into a small, windowless wine cellar, hidden at the far end of the hallway. He opens the latched door, reaches into the darkness for a light switch, and steps inside. There, lying on the concrete floor, beneath a white blanket, is JonBenét. John instantly cries out, lifting his daughter's lifeless body into his arms and carrying her upstairs into the living room, desperately screaming for help. But it is far too late. The realization hits the room with crushing weight. This was never a kidnapping. In that single, chaotic moment, the entire trajectory of the investigation changes, and a devastating reality sets in. A uniformed officer had briefly searched the basement earlier that morning, but had failed to open that specific latched door. By allowing the victim's father to search the area unsupervised and subsequently move the body from its original position, the crime scene is severely compromised before forensic teams can properly secure it. Trace evidence, fibers, and potential footprints are inadvertently disturbed, creating a chaotic foundation for the investigation that would haunt detectives for decades to come. As the forensic teams finally secure the mansion, the medical examiner begins the grim task of analyzing the physical reality of what happened to JonBenét. The autopsy reveals a deeply unsettling and complex crime scene, suggesting a combination of impulsive, blunt violence and highly methodical staging. The official cause of death is determined to be asphyxia by strangulation associated with craniocerebral trauma. JonBenét had suffered an incredibly severe 11-inch fracture to the right side of her skull caused by a massive blow from a blunt object. Forensic experts determine that this injury occurred while she was still alive, likely rendering her instantly unconscious and causing severe brain trauma. But the trauma did not stop there. A garrote had been fashioned around her neck, constructed from a thick nylon cord and a broken piece of a wooden paintbrush handle. Investigators quickly discover that the paintbrush belonged to Patsy Ramsey, kept in an area near the basement. The cord had been twisted tight, using the wooden handle as a lever to exert lethal pressure. Her wrists were loosely bound above her head with similar nylon cord. Furthermore, the autopsy reveals definitive signs of both prior and recent vaginal trauma. The complex nature of these injuries sparks a fierce debate among forensic analysts. Some experts argue that the entire crime scene, the ransom note, the garrote, the bonds, was an elaborate attempt to stage a kidnapping to cover up a fatal domestic accident or ongoing sexual abuse within the household. The investigation quickly broadens to evaluate the physical evidence left behind, most notably the 2.5-page ransom note. Handwriting analysts are brought in to compare the writing on the legal pad with samples from dozens of potential suspects. While experts confidently eliminate more than 70 individuals, including John Ramsey, their conclusions regarding Patsy Ramsey are far more ambiguous. Multiple analysts state they cannot definitively rule her out as the author, noting distinct similarities in letter formations and spacing, though none can declare a definitive match. The note remains a bizarre centerpiece of the case. Unusually long, written with materials from the home, and filled with dramatic, cinematic language that seems entirely disconnected from a professional kidnapping ring. As the weeks turn into months, the search for answers becomes crippled by a bitter public war between the law enforcement agencies tasked with finding the killer. The Boulder Police Department, a small agency with very little experience handling high-profile homicide cases, quickly centers its focus on the immediate family. Applying the standard criminological logic that the vast majority of child homicides are committed by parents or guardians, they view the Ramseys with deep suspicion. However, the Boulder District Attorney's Office, led by DA Alex Hunter, takes a completely opposite approach. Hunter insists on treating the Ramseys strictly as victims, affording them significant legal courtesies. His office allows the family's defense attorneys to review highly confidential police files, autopsy reports, and physical evidence before formal interviews even take place. This massive philosophical divide creates a toxic working environment. The Boulder Police Department goes so far as to reject early offers of assistance and behavioral profiling from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, preferring to keep the circle of control tight. The result is an investigation pulling itself apart from the inside, characterized by leaked information, public accusations, and a total breakdown of institutional trust. By 1998, the public demand for action forces the state's hand. A grand jury is convened to review the mountain of circumstantial evidence and determine if formal charges should be filed against John and Patsy Ramsey. For 13 grueling months, the grand jury hears testimonies from forensic experts, investigators, and witnesses. When the grand jury concludes its work, DA Alex Hunter steps before the cameras to announce that no indictments will be filed, stating simply that there is insufficient evidence to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The public assumes the case has stalled out completely. However, a stunning revelation emerges years later. In 2013, unsealed court documents reveal that the grand jury had actually voted to indict both John and Patsy Ramsey on charges of child abuse resulting in death and being accessories to a crime. They believed there was enough probable cause to bring the parents to trial. But Alex Hunter had made the executive, controversial decision to refuse to sign the indictments, believing the prosecution's case was too weak to win a conviction in a court of law. The narrative takes another dramatic turn in July 2008. A new district attorney, Mary Lacey, issues a formal public apology to the Ramsey family, officially clearing John, Patsy, and their son Burke of any involvement in the murder. This dramatic exoneration is driven by advancements in forensic science, specifically the extraction of touch DNA. Forensic labs managed to isolate new minute DNA profiles from the waistband of JonBenét's underwear and the cuffs of her nightshirt. The genetic material belongs to an unknown, unidentified male. Because this DNA does not match any member of the Ramsey family, the district attorney's office concludes that an outside intruder must have entered the home, committed the crime, and left their genetic signature behind. The intruder theory gains massive support from those who point to several pieces of physical evidence. A basement window was found broken, with a suitcase placed directly beneath it, suggesting a potential point of entry. Furthermore, an unidentified boot print was discovered in the dust near the body, and trace fibers were found that could not be matched to materials inside the home. Yet critics of the intruder theory remain highly skeptical. They point out the logistical absurdities required for an outsider to pull off the crime. An intruder would have had to enter a dark, highly complex, multi-level mansion at night, locate the child's bedroom without waking the rest of the family, take her to the basement, and spend upwards of 20 minutes sitting in the house, writing a massive 2-page ransom note on a family legal pad, using a family pen. They also note the complete lack of footprints in the fresh snow outside the home that morning, suggesting that no one had approached or exited the house from the exterior. The absence of a clear resolution allows alternative, darker theories to flourish in the media. In 2016, a highly publicized television docuseries puts forward a theory centered on JonBenét's older brother, Burke, who was 9 years old at the time of the murder. The theory suggests that a late-night dispute over a snack of pineapple resulted in Burke striking his sister in a sudden fit of rage, and that his parents, horrified by the prospect of losing both children, staged the elaborate kidnapping scenario and garrote to protect their remaining son. Burke Ramsey immediately fights back against these explosive claims, launching massive defamation lawsuits against the network and explicitly denying any involvement during a high-profile appearance on national television. The theory, while capturing public fascination, lacks definitive forensic backing, and the DNA evidence continues to point away from the family members. Over the years, the case has also seen its share of bizarre false leads. The most sensational occurs in 2006, when an American schoolteacher named John Mark Carr is arrested in Bangkok, Thailand. Carr gives detailed, highly disturbing confessions to the media, claiming he was with JonBenét at the time of her death and that he loved her deeply. The world watches in disbelief as he is extradited back to Colorado. However, the circus quickly collapses. Forensic testing reveals that Carr's DNA does not match the I-nineteen-tide-IC profile found on the victim's clothing, and documentation places him thousands of miles away in Alabama during the Christmas of 1996. The confession is exposed as a delusion, and he is completely cleared of charges. As the years have marched on, the city of Boulder has refused to let the case turn cold. Entering its third decade, the investigation has embraced a massive, systematic push toward modern technology. The scale of the effort is monumental, reflecting a determination to find answers despite the passage of time. Investigators have meticulously analyzed almost 1,000 distinct DNA samples. The department has received and catalogued more than 21,016 individual tips, letters, and emails. Detectives have traveled across 19 different states to follow leads and conduct interviews. More than 1,000 individuals have been formally interviewed in connection to the crime. Over 1,500 pieces of evidence have been securely retained and processed. The Boulder Police Department works hand in hand with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and the FBI to apply the latest breakthroughs in genetic genealogy and advanced DNA sequencing to the I-nineteen-tide profile. The CBI has updated over 750 reference samples, checking them against modern databases in the hope of finding a familial match. This modern push reached a significant milestone when official statements confirmed that the Boulder Police Department had convened a specialized cold case review panel. This panel brings together top-tier forensic experts, federal investigators, state authorities, and outside independent laboratories to re-examine every single piece of evidence from the ground up. Police Chief Stephen Redfern has confirmed that this renewed effort is highly active. Detectives are currently conducting brand new interviews and re-examining individuals based on fresh tips. Existing evidence is continually being tested and retested as technology improves, ensuring that no stone is left unturned. Today, the murder of JonBenét Ramsey remains officially unsolved. It stands as a somber monument to a case defined by contradictions, media sensationalism, and missed opportunities. The passing of decades has not dimmed the public's fascination or the department's resolve. Law enforcement officials maintain that the file will stay open until a definitive answer is reached, holding on to the enduring hope that science will eventually bridge the gap between suspicion and absolute proof. the small beauty queen who captured the world's attention, remains at the heart of an ongoing battle for justice, a reminder of a devastating holiday morning that American culture has never truly been able to forget.